Welcome to the 10th episode of the Little Thespian Podcast. On today's episode, we talk to Alexa Gregory, Andrea McMillan, and Etienne Valliere, all things backstage and behind the scenes. So, without further ado, let's hop into the 10th episode of the Little Thespian Podcast with these unseen heroes. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 10th episode of the Little Thespian Podcast. On today's episode, we have three of the unseen heroes themselves, Etienne, Alexa, and Andy. How are you guys? I'm going to check in with you guys first. Are you guys doing well during this time?
The best we could.
I get you.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
It's a crazy time now, but we're going to just do whatever we can to bring smiles to faces, and that's why I've been doing this, and I'm so happy to have you guys on. But before I start this episode, unfortunately, I need to talk about a little dull note that has been happening at Dawson College. There has been several allegations towards Winston. You guys don't need to go very far to see all the stuff that's been happening over there. And I just want to say that both me, Matthew Crandall, and my theater company, Blind by Light Theater Company, stand in solidarity with the victims, and we will be putting all sorts of posts out in regards to trying to help out the victims during this crazy, crazy thing that has been going on. Unfortunately, it is not something new. It's been happening for a very long time. And we hope that Winston gets what is coming to him. But we're going to leave it at that because we can talk about it for a while. But we just want to say to go check out all the links down below and to make your voices heard during this time of allegations and just crazy things that are happening over at Dawson College. But to shift gears on something more bright, hello guys, and let's hop in to episode 10 of the Little Thespian Podcast. So, my first question for all of you is, how exactly did you guys get into theater, and how exactly did you guys become so invested into working behind the scenes?
I guess I'll start. Those that know me know that it's a pretty wild and long story. I actually started CJEP trying to become a police officer. But I always had this creative side in me, and I always enjoyed Halloween, dressing up, creating things and whatnot. And I stumbled upon this video from this company that had worked on Iron Man and a bunch of, big budget movies and all that, and I was looking at these artists behind the scene, and I was like, wait, this is possible. That's that's a job that people can actually do. And at that point, I had been to John Abbott for a couple years already. I had dropped police tech. I was in science at that point, and I was like, well, I guess I'm going to change program again. I didn't know that the professional theater department at Abbott existed, and I just jumped for another 3 years of CJEP, and so far I do not regret it at all.
Wow. Yeah, that's the first time I've heard your story, and it's great because I've been talking to a lot of people in regards to how they got into it and just the different stories and the different ways people get into this big business. I love it. So yeah, that's great. That's it. Alexa and Andy, how did you guys get in?
I mean, I think it started when I was really young. I used to start, drawing basic clothing, and I never really know where the passion started. It just kind of happened, walking around stores and, seeing dresses in the window and seeing, different movies and, specifically period movies where you see, medieval gowns and you see all these different time periods that, are being portrayed. And I think the passion just kind of started there. And it was always one of the first things that I'd pick up on every single time I saw anything. It was always the extreme of it, the costumes, the set, all the different things that, make up a story. And I think that's kind of where it started. And ever since I was young, I've been drawing, and, I've never really had the chance to make anything before I joined Abbott, but I always knew that that's what I wanted to go into. And so I was very, very lucky that I stumbled upon the Abbott Theater Department, because that was pretty much exactly what I was looking for.
No, and I have to say, I'm not just saying this because I went to Abbott, but my God, the things you guys make and the Abbott department in general blows me away. It blows me away. And I've said it to many people in regards to, without you guys, we cannot do what we do. As actors, we cannot do it. And just the amount of costumes and the amazing technical pieces and the things we've made over at Abbott is astounding to me. And so before I continue and before we hop into Andy's story, I want to thank you guys for just the amazing things you guys have been doing. I'm going to say it also at the end because I always shine a light on everyone. But thank you guys for the amazing stuff you guys have put out.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us amazing stuff to work on.
For sure. I mean, without you, it would just be a pile of clothes on the
exactly.
table. You're the people putting these creations to life. So.
Yeah, exactly.
So Andy, how exactly did you get into this wonderful entertainment business?
Wow. Well, I didn't think I'd wind up here, that's for sure. Much like Etienne, I didn't go to school initially for theater. I kind of jumped around from place to place, from program to program. I've dabbled in liberal arts, literature. I did accounting for a bit because I thought I was gonna, rule the world with numbers and doing taxes all my life. But I realized all that stuff just wasn't for me. There was no passion, there was no motivation to get up and be excited to go to work every day. And I thought back to my high school days where I was actually an actress, in my high school plays. And I just remembered the electricity of the atmosphere of running a show. And I decided to try out my luck on the technical side. And from day one, I fell in love with it. And after 3 years working in the program, I can proudly say I found something that I love waking up to do every day. So that's just me.
That's lovely. And I guess to see the opposite of that, there was a question in regards to a certain show that we did at Abbott that some people might think it was very abstract, and there was a lot of colors and a lot of watching for certain human beings. at Abbott entitled The Decalogue Project, which you all worked on. How exactly did you guys survive such a heavy show on the technical and design and pretty much every aspect of the backstage life? How exactly did you survive the Decalogue Project?
I think that's a story for Alexa first and foremost. Just to put us in in context.
I'm sorry in advance because I remember you having to scrub every costume. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, I think we were, as time-consuming as it was post-show, I think we were pretty lucky with the fact that, pre-show was pretty simple, and running the show itself was not extremely demanding, and the show wasn't, 3 hours long. So, we would do our part on stage and, bring, there weren't that many costume changes. And, every time that something had to be done, it was done rather quickly. And so by the end of the show, we weren't overly exhausted. And, we managed to get the entire day off until we were called in. And so when, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock came around and post-show started, we had energy and, we weren't drained from a long day. And so, I mean, by 12 o'clock, it got a little much, but I think that we were able to power through because of the fact that we, leading up to that moment was not overwhelming. And so, I mean, that's all I can say.
No, but honestly, us as actors, and I probably speak for the entire cast, we felt bad leaving because we're like, okay, well, we just basically go and get out of makeup, get out of our clothes and then leave. And then you guys are still there and we're like, well, that's sad. I don't like that. It was a nuts show. It was crazy. But the fact that we somehow pulled that off with almost no spots on the thing, I have to give you guys props. It was it's nuts. It's crazy.
It was pretty crazy.
It was crazy. And it's a very fond memory looking back. And honestly, the amount of questions that came in regards to the Decalogue Project, we could be here talking about that the entire time. But to shift gears, what play or musical or what show would each of you like to be a part of and take the reins on in the future?
Well, just if you allow me to go back to Decalogue just for a quick second. I know.
Go right ahead. Yeah.
We really cannot. We cannot spend the whole hours just talking about Decalogue, but I just want to add something real funny because I always felt a little bit responsible. Because for those who don't know, that the big problem with Decalogue is the fact that there were just a bunch of white costumes, and throughout the play, actors were rolling in paint and fake blood, essentially. And Alexa was part of the costume crew. I was with the props crew, actually. And I worked on these 4 fake babies that at one point in the show were essentially exploding in blood, and the blood was all dripping all over the costume. And I felt bad because the props department was the department that created, the fake paint, the fake blood and all that. And we created all these messy things for the costume department to have to worry about at the end of the show. And it was just I tried to help a couple times out of pity because I felt bad. Yeah.
You did. It was really funny watching, just walking by the costume department and watching you all huddled around in a circle having your scrubbing parties until 12 o'clock,
I think
that's what theater is all about.
I think we were listening to Christmas music at one point.
We were.
Keeping the spirits up.
Well, it was right before Christmas too, so that's perfect.
It was. Yeah, we had Christmas music and we had our buckets and our hands were scrubbed raw. We had no more skin, but it was fine.
And Andy, you did stage managing for that, correct?
I was. It was my first job as an ASM.
How
Actually,
was
my first
that?
experience as an ASM. I sat through every rehearsal and I watched all of you guys. I tracked your every movement, where every prop went, where every costume went. It was, you know what, it was a lot of fun actually. It was like the first big responsibility I got from my school experience, and I learned a lot and I got to meet a lot of great people. So it was a good experience for me, but I guess I never had to wash the costumes, so I guess I don't know the bad side of it.
So to go back to the question in regards to working on something in the future, what plays would you guys like to design, do props for, or even stage manage?
Okay. Honestly, because I'm still so fresh, starting off in this career, I would love to get the chance to work on anything. But because I want to kind of specialize in lighting design as well as stage management, I was thinking about a movie I watched the other day, Sweeney Todd, and getting to design the lights for something like that, something dramatic, something, musical as that would be kind of pretty awesome.
Mhm.
So probably Sweeney Todd.
Wow. I love Sweeney Todd. It's very
Yeah.
underrated for some people, but no, Sweeney Todd's great. So nice shout out for that one. Alexa or Etienne?
I think kind of similar to what Andy said. I mean, musicals are always a blast and so colorful and so vibrant. I know that on Broadway right now, there are quite a few Disney musicals specifically that just pop into my mind, like Aladdin and stuff. And I think that that would really be an incredible experience to design something like of that scale.
Wow. Yeah, no, Aladdin too. Like the Disney Broadway, the amount of stuff that they do and the crazy things they do, it still floors me. Everything behind the scenes, like you guys are in a way talking foreign because I've studied in acting, right? But the fact, like the amazing things that end up happening, like the carpet, for example, in Aladdin, or so many of these technical aspects that us actors don't potentially know. It's okay, let's find the light. Okay, let's act, basically, for us. But the crazy things you guys do in regards to everything technical in the design field, it floors me. And I would love to see you do something in regards to Aladdin or any of these bigger blockbuster, dramatic, or comedy musicals. Yeah. Etienne?
For me, there are so many, I think the piece of, theater that I love the most is probably Phantom of the Opera, just for the extravagant costumes and everything surrounding that. That being said, as much as I love, the beauty of period costumes and whatnot, I've always enjoyed more working with the more fantastical elements, things that do not exactly exist. I don't know if any of you had the chance to see a play that was going around in the month of January in Montreal, Paradise Lost at Saint-Flour Theatre.
Yeah.
So essentially a sort of retelling, a feminist retelling of the story of Adam and Eve. And it was so interesting. Like the costumes for this play were based, they were like modern in a way, but also based in mythology and whatnot. And so all these, I'm very attracted to the characters that are very weird, fantastical, creepy in a bit, in a way. That's where that's what I would like to work on. Something that's a bit chilling and, never seen before.
And I guess like, in regards to that, you did costumes for Dr. Faustus, of which we've talked on before.
Which I'm so happy I did.
Right? I mean, that was very fantastical. Like you literally had to do a costume for Lucifer.
Yes.
So how was that? I'm just gonna shift gears here. How was doing costumes for something so over the top?
Well, over the top is one word, but iconic is the word I would describe.
Iconic.
You know, everybody knows about the devil, Satan, the big guy with the horns. And I wanted to explore something completely different. I love, as I was explaining, exploring things that are not really seen before. And of course, there have been hundreds of interpretation of the devil in the past. But since the idea of Dr. Faustus, it revolves around, the damnation and losing your humanity and by selling your soul to the devil or whatnot. I wanted to explore this, but also because yes, of course, the main character, Dr. Faustus, gets dragged to hell and an eternity in the flames and whatnot. But it's important to also, when I was thinking about the characters, to think about the story of Lucifer, who was an angel, God's favorite angel, who he himself, because of his ambitions and whatnot, was cast out of heaven. In a way, an idea very similar to Faustus. And so for me, the idea, when I wanted to represent the devil for this play, it was important to portray a very angelic figure that is now forced to adapt in a hellish environment. And he calls himself now the Prince of Hell and whatnot. And so I wanted to draw a resemblance to angels, but also in a way a Christ figure, as much as Christ is the savior of humanity in religion. Having Lucifer being now the prince of hell, he's like the god for all the little demons. So that's why I wanted I'm going to try to not speak too long about that design, but there's just so much to say. Lucifer had these scars going down his face, which in a way could portray misery and just scratching his beautiful face, but also it replicates the blood dripping down Christ's face when he was on the cross because of the crown of thorns, or just the final shot with Lucifer raising his arms in a very Christ-like figure. It was all part of the plan to show Lucifer, yes, as an evil entity, but also the Antichrist in a way, the opposite of what Jesus is supposed to be.
Honestly, that all came across, and the amount of detail that you guys do, even us actors, yes, we put in the work, but the detail on everything that you guys have done, it's crazy to me. It's nuts. And honestly, the costume design for Dr. Faustus, I wanted to touch on that a bit because my God, man, it was lovely. And I was honored to put on your costumes, and it's great, man. So to go off of that, what is your favorite part about working backstage, all of you guys, and what is your most challenging part that you guys do during a normal run, or just during your time at Abbott studying, or until now? Basically, what is your most challenging part you guys have had to do when working backstage?
Well, I guess the most challenging part about being backstage and running a show is figuring out how to put all the pieces of the puzzle together to make sure a show runs smoothly, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on backstage depending on the show, and people are constantly almost running into each other, so you have to find a way to kind of flow together. But as soon as you find that way, as soon as you solve that puzzle and everything flows smoothly, then the atmosphere is so electric, which is what is my favorite part about running a show and being backstage. Because how as actors, you guys before a show, you guys do your prep work, you guys get all pumped up, you do your warm-ups. For us, it's like that the entire time. I just feel that static electricity the entire time for running a show. So that's probably why I do it.
Wow. Yeah, I never thought about it that way, but like the fact, like all the tracks backstage and people moving and whatnot, and yeah, it's true. Like we do warm ups and whatnot, but you guys are fully in it from start to finish. Us, we're off stage. Okay, we're waiting for our next cue, but you guys are always go 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 go. So yeah, wow. Alexa or Etienne, would you guys like to jump in regards to anything backstage?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think I'd say the most challenging thing is coordinating so many different people. And, you know, like we have our production meetings and we have the lighting team, the sound team, you know, all the different teams that are trying to bring together this one idea. And, you know, you're working under the director and under the stage manager, who are both, you know, very hands-on with the show from the start. And they have a certain vision that they're bringing to life, and everybody has to, you know, coordinate and fall into that same vision. And sometimes it's a little harder to do if people are disagreeing with certain things. But I think that, you know, in the end, that's kind of what makes it the best part, is that you see everything come together. You see everybody's work coming together. You know, everybody's finally put their product on stage for people to see, and it's so rewarding, and it's such a beautiful thing to finally, you know, all that work that you've put in for months, and, you know, so many late nights and so many stressful hours, and you're seeing it finally together, and all the actors are in your costumes and they're under the lighting and they're on the set, and it's really incredible.
Well, to go off of that, you designed Pride and Prejudice. So how was that? Because that was all period piece. So
Oh yeah.
how was that?
It was really fun. I didn't actually know that I was designing it until like a week into the semester. Everybody else knew what show they were doing and I didn't. And Leslie just kind of like casually dropped the bomb. And she told me right away not to watch the movie, but it's kind of hard because I kind of go from inspiration off of how other people have portrayed the characters. And, you know, that was the only thing that I had at the moment because the cast list wasn't out and everything. So, I mean, it was just a lot of research, and it was a lot of time and watching so many period movies, and watching rehearsals and talking with, you know, Andy and Tracy Lee, and just figuring out how every character is going to be portrayed. And I mean, it was a lot of work, and it was so rewarding to see it all come together at the end, because I mean, I'm a little biased, but I thought it looked really beautiful.
It did. It really did. From the set to your costumes. The costumes, again, floored me because it was so regal. It was so royal. It seemed so different from what I was in, the grittiness of Dr. Faustus. It was good to kind of ascend to the heavens into Pride and Prejudice. So thank you again for that. It was lovely.
Thank you.
And Etienne, so what's the most challenging and the most rewarding for you, bud?
I mean, our challenges all throughout production. Obviously, as soon as we start, you know, we have the design presentation, and then production starts. We have all the crews working on sets, props, costumes, and whatnot. And production will carry a whole load of challenges throughout. But I think as a designer, the most challenging part comes before all that, before production, when you just, and it's also for me one of the most rewarding parts, just sitting down with the director very, very early on and discussing ideas. And it's weird, I guess, that the job of a designer is to take ideas that are not fully fleshed, not fully formed yet, and understand what the final result should be, and creating something physical, something that can be seen, that will achieve that goal in the end. And I guess the director I was working on for for Dr. Faustus and all and whatnot, the director was very excited. He had a lot of crazy ideas. And so his name is Jason Howell. And Jason with myself sometimes created like a cocktail of weird ideas, and that was so challenging to just bring ourselves back to earth and like create something feasible for then the production to start. So in a way, that is partly the most challenging part, but definitely one of the most rewarding, to just understand what the final result should be and then create a design to meet the expectations of the director.
Mm. And I guess to piggyback off of all your answers, how for someone who might want to jump into the technical side, do you have any words of wisdom, or any words that you would potentially have liked to heard before you guys jumped into your careers backstage?
Um,
This is always one that like people have to think, so no worries, guys.
yeah.
I mean, I think one thing that I would have maybe not so much have liked to hear, but I think that I've noticed, you know, especially as you see different people coming in and out of the program, I think that it really is something that you have to put your entire heart and soul into, and it is something that takes a lot of your time, and you know, your passion for it will only grow as you continue. So if you start with the passion, then you're good to go, honestly, because, you know, I came into the program really excited and already knowing what I wanted to do. But the more that you learn there, the more that you experience things there, the more your passion grows. And I think that that's really something that like stuck with me, is that how much that program just helps you blossom. And it really is just 100%, just put 100%, and yeah.
Yeah. I agree with Alexa there. You know, you're gonna grow with the art. You're gonna continue and become more and more invested in it, and your passion's gonna grow. Of course, I don't think anyone is, you know, starting this career path thinking they'll make millions and millions of dollars. So it has to come with, you know, from a place of passion to begin with. But like, it's just, it's not going to become your job. You're just going to become an artist, and that's just what you will be. Like right now, I'm not looking at movies the same way. Or just like people in the street, I find myself observing a lot more the way they dress, because your everyday life becomes just a constant study for your art. So because of that, I think one thing that's very important is to be able to surround yourself with people that understand this passion and will, you know, be there with you throughout the journey. That's very important.
No, I totally agree with Etienne. I find myself today looking at movies differently as well. I'm always looking at the different kind of lighting techniques that people are using. I'm always looking at the colors around me. Even just like walking into a room, I'm immediately attracted by like some stellar lighting. So I definitely get that. I agree with Alexa. Follow your passion. This is an industry where you get into it because you're passionate about it, because you love it. Take the leap. Don't be afraid of failing. Every time you make a mistake, it's just another opportunity for you to learn and to grow as an artist. And yeah, it's really like a wonderful community to be a part of as well. So I say go for it. Don't be afraid.
Lovely words, guys. So before I hop into the last two questions, because unfortunately we can't do this for too long, even though I'd love to, I'm going to talk about who will be coming on next week. So next week we will be having Molly coming on. Yes, Molly Prangley Desormo, I believe that's how you say her name. I just don't want to make any mistakes with names. But Molly will be on next week, so that's going to be fun. Yeah, so let's hop into the last two questions. One is actually right towards Andy. So some people don't know what exactly stage managers potentially do. So I wanted to hop in and ask you in regards to what does a stage manager need to do? because my God, you have done Decalogue, and now recently you just done Mary Poppins, of which sadly couldn't happen. But how was that, first of all? And then can you talk a bit about stage managing?
Well, losing Mary Poppins was like having that be canceled right before we started Tech Week, and actually before I got to call the show was kind of heartbreaking because it seemed like it was going to be a really fun show to call, a really, really fun show for audiences to watch too. And we put in so much work. So it was a little devastating. But I also stage managed Pride and Prejudice. That was like my first time stage managing. And that was the most exciting thing. Like I'd never even heard of a stage manager before. So I had no idea that it even existed. So when I realized that I really loved it from day one, it was a total shock to me. And I just knew that this is what I want to kind of pursue in my future. Stage manager, wow. We're the biggest communicator in the production team. We sit in rehearsals all day, and we communicate basically what happens in rehearsal to the rest of the production team to make sure that everyone's on the same page. We do a lot of paperwork, We do a lot of tracking. We follow every actor wherever they go. We organize a lot, so I'm really thankful that I'm very organized as a person in general, because if not, I don't think I'd be able to do it. I just think like it's a fun job because I get to speak to as many people as I can, and I get to just watch a play grow from day one and watch how actors get to change and transform into a character and really bring the show to what it is. But my favorite part of being a stage manager is absolutely calling the show, because I kind of treat it like a timing video game, because I'm hugely into video games. So it's just kind of like, okay, ready, 1, 2, 3, go. And you have to hit that timing every night. And it's great. It's a lot of fun. But stage managers, we do a lot. But working with people like you guys, working with patient actors, it just makes it a lot easier. And it's a really, really great career path to follow.
Wow. Yeah, no, I see every stage manager that I've worked with, and I'm like, how do you do this? Because again, with looking back on what I've done, also the 15 dogs, I'm like, how did Clara do that? Because people are going here, pieces are going here. Like I have no idea. But I definitely wanted to get your expertise in that, because stage managing is just something that a lot of people were very interested in. And again, in regards to costume and all these aspects, they wanted to know in regards to how does that come to be as well. I know you design the costumes, and then you then potentially make them. But how does that come to be? I want to get your expertise, Alexa, and your expertise at Cien in regards to how do you make costumes and how do you make sets and all these things that come to be?
Wow. Well, where to begin?
I know it's a big question.
Well, I mean, as I briefly mentioned earlier, it starts with sitting down with the director and understanding. You need to understand their idea. They have an idea for a character. They have an idea for a set. They have like emotions they want to portray. But it's missing like visual element, I guess. Now, obviously, designers, we read the plays over and over again, trying to analyze every little bit, because obviously, if we're to compare, I guess I'm gonna talk mostly costume design, because I think that's the most important. I think it's the most interesting process. At least it is for me. I assume in your case for actors, you get the script and you try to understand your character beyond what is just portrayed in the script. If I'm not wrong, that's how you get to connect a lot more with your character. And as an actor, it's probably more interesting that way. I guess designers, it's something similar, but we're taking essentially the idea of based on the personality of this character, you know, what, you know, sorry, I have difficulty finding my words, but I guess the idea is if I were to show you a drawing, you'd be able to understand the personality of the character even before seeing them on stage. I think that's the key to a good design. And it goes a lot with posing also. When drawing character designs, I think the way they're posed and portrayed is very important. I'm thinking a bit about like the clowns in Dr. Faustus that were dressed super, you know, you were looking at them, you were able to see like, all right, they're workers / chimney sweepers, but the way their, you know, their pants are so extravagant, their colors are so weird, plus the pose that were drawn in, you're like, okay, I'm able to see that these characters are silly. And so I guess as far as design is concerned, that's how it goes. It's one way to explain it. After that, obviously, when you draw something, you want to make sure that it's feasible, that it's possible to create what you've drawn. That's why having a certain knowledge of sewing and prop making is important, because as much as a dress can be beautiful, if it's impossible to create, obviously your design is not going to match what it's going to be on stage at the end. So yeah, and it's a constant puzzle. And you know, there are you know, guidelines as to how to sew, how to make a garment a certain way, but there are always going to be new challenges for costume design, for prop making, for set design, because not every show is the same, and every show is going to have this little element that sounds, and it's funny because usually it's the elements that seem the easiest, they're actually the hardest to put on stage. Like the idea of the bleeding babies in the Decalogue project. The idea was simple. It was 4 moms carrying their swaddled baby, and at one point blood was going to start pouring out of the baby. They would put the baby down on the floor and drag them on the floor and create a trail of blood, which, if you have not seen the show, sounds a bit weird.
Well, it sounds very
dark. Makes sense. It made sense in the context of the show. But yeah, so you know, at first glance, you're like, okay, it's easy because it's going to be a big balloon inside filled with fake blood, and we're going to find a way to poke it and make it bleed. But then all the challenges arrive. Like, okay, well, the blood is coming out too quickly. It's not coming out quickly enough. There's not enough blood to create a good trail. Like, it's a lot of trial and errors. And to go back with what Andy was saying earlier with in regards to, you know, tips that we could give to potential designers or technicians, you know, and she was talking about failure, to not be afraid to fail. I think failure is such an important part of the process. Like, it's very rare that we have something that works on the first try, but we just learn from these errors, and we got to adapt quickly, because that deadline is coming up always too quickly.
Yeah. No, honestly, it's the amount of, like, in Decalogue, just the seats and all these things I need to lock in, and all sorts of these little things that as actors are like, okay, so we need to put this piece here. Okay. But you guys, you have been working on this thing for several weeks, potentially months. It's like, it's crazy. Alexa, did you want to jump in regards to anything costume-wise?
Yeah, I mean, Etienne's answer pretty much said everything. I mean, it really is a constant puzzle from day one to the day that the show closes, really, because even during the run of the show, you've got things you need to fix, things you need to change, things that need to be adapted. And I mean, from the first day that you find out what show you're designing to meeting with the director and, getting the cast list and, different drawings that you're bringing in every day to match the visual aspect that the director is looking for. I mean, it's just constant work, and it's, so much research, and, you're putting up boards of like, different looks for each character depending on how many costume changes you have as well. And, if a show is double casted, and, figuring out all these different things that's, they all have to work together. And I mean, really the work doesn't stop until the show closes. And I mean, it's always very rewarding when you finally see things starting to come together, like when we're in production and things are starting to be put together. It's very rewarding, but I mean, I think the process leading up to that is just a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of broken pencils and paper all over the place, and just bringing up as many sketches as you possibly can, and hoping that, different colors and different poses, like Etienne said, a pose says a lot about a character and how you want them to be portrayed, and all these different ideas that you're bringing, and, hoping that one of them works out. And if it doesn't, then they all get put away and you start with something new. And I mean, it's just a constant piece of work, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's always been fun to do, and, no matter what show, no matter what kind of style you're going for, it's always going to be fun. And I think it's important to like what you're doing, because, it's just, it takes all of your time for months.
Yeah. And I know for me, probably the best part of rehearsals and whatnot is the minute you guys come in. The minute there's a costume design, the minute there's no longer just actors, the minute there are other people who, frankly, I think are more creative than me and actors in general, because the amount of stuff you guys do floors me. Again, I'm going to keep using that word, not because some people make sets that have floors, but because I'm floored by it. It's crazy. But sadly, there's one more question I'm going to ask you guys, and it's, what does your guys' future look like? Are you guys working on anything? Do you guys want to plug anything in regards to stuff you might be working on? Or do you guys just, are you guys going to go with the flow? And are you guys looking forward to stuff post-COVID?
COVID. Well, I think any artist right now has, very little choice, and they kind of need to go with the flow. I was extremely lucky and fortunate last summer to have the chance to work with incredible artists at Cirque du Soleil. And obviously enough, I was sort of hoping, to have the chance to be back this year, and COVID being COVID, that is not the case anymore. And I think it's important as artists to take that time to be more creative than ever. Of course, it's not fun to have this potential, I don't want to necessarily call it a career plan, but have this opportunity, disappear because of a virus. But this new time of pandemic, in a way, should be seen as an opportunity to experiment with new things. As far as I'm concerned, I have a few contracts coming up with the movie industry, so I'll be working on that. But on the side, I'm also slowly trying to build up something, some kind. I choose to not really talk about it too much yet, because it's very early on. I'm just starting to place the foundation for it. But it's gonna combine everything that I love about what I'm doing right now, which is it's going to combine theater, it's going to combine arts, it's going to combine social gatherings and events, and it's a project that will be many years in the making, but yeah, stay tuned for more.
I'm excited. Alexa or Andy, what does your guys' future look like?
Well, I just finished my first week at the National Theatre School of Canada, and I'm excited. I'm excited to dive back in, especially after COVID kind of put a halt to everything that's been going on, especially in the artistic industry. Um, I'm excited to dive in deeper into my studies and to get more experiences out of theater, to grow my career. um, Especially now at NTS, we're kind of looking on how to work throughout this pandemic and how to like adjust the artistic industry based on what's going on, how to do more things online, how that works, how we can adapt to what's going on in the world, because theater and the art industry is always changing, and just because a pandemic happened doesn't mean that people should stop creating, should stop doing what they love, should stop following what they're passionate about. So I'm excited to dive in deeper into that and what my future brings. I guess we'll have to wait and see, but it's definitely pursuing this, absolutely.
Wow. I'm looking forward to seeing stuff post coronavirus, because my God, it's true. It has shaken. I don't know.
We're all shook.
Yes. The entire core of the arts industry. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens over at MTS. Alexa?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was very fortunate last fall to design my first professional show outside of Abbott, and unfortunately wasn't able to get that chance now that, COVID has shut everything down for, the last few months, and now that things are, slowly starting to open up again, and I've been practicing my passion at home and, bettering myself the best that I can and preparing to get back out into that field, because, especially in a career like this, you have to jump at every opportunity that you can get. And I think that, now that things are slowly starting to open up and hopefully things are just going to start going back to normal, I think this is a good chance to kind of jump right back into it and start things fresh. But it's been kind of a slow few months here.
But I guess to go off of that and to sadly end the episode, thank you guys for the opportunity to one, talk to you guys, and to wear your amazing costumes and to just have an amazing chat with each and every one of you. I'm going to shed a light, and then unfortunately we got to go, guys. But have you guys had fun?
Yes. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Again, thanks for being on. So to shed a light on each and every one of you, Andy, my God, you radiate when you are doing stage managing, and I am so glad that I got the opportunity to work with you several times now. Same thing with USN. My God, bro, the amazing costumes that you had me put on, even though I was shirtless, which I'm perfectly okay with. It was great to wear your amazing costumes, and I truly feel honored to still see those pictures and to continue talking about Dr. Faustus. And Alexa, my God, the amount of times we've had conversations in regards to just your bubbly personality, whether it be Habs or whatever it may be, it's great to see that you and all of you guys are doing well during this crazy, crazy time. So thank you guys for being awesome. And thank you guys for being on the Little Thespian Podcast. I'm glad you guys had fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So unfortunately, that is our 10th episode. I can't believe it's been 10 episodes. It's crazy to me that we've had so many guests already. And next week we have Molly. But thank you guys once again. I'm going to keep saying thank you until we end this, because my God, it was great to have you guys on. All right. I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. The lights are off. The curtain has fallen. And it's time to say goodbye. Thank you all for joining us on the Little Thespian Podcast. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to ask, either down below or on any of our platforms. On the next episode of the Little Thespian Podcast, we talk to Molly Prangley DeZormo, all things acting, theater, behind the scenes, cosplay, and so much more. So you guys are definitely going to want to check out episode 11 of the Little Thespian Podcast when we talk to Molly. It's going to be a great time. I truly cannot wait. Thank you guys for the overwhelming support in these first 10 episodes. I truly cannot believe that we've done 10 episodes of the Little Thespian Podcast. I cannot wait to further our amazing talks with such amazing people and shine lights on the great people that work in this amazing community that I love so dear. Unfortunately, like I said, we had to start this on a very dull note, but make your voices heard, talk to Dawson, put out emails, and hopefully we see a change. All links for that will be down below. Talk to Kaylee and many other people, and hopefully Winston is gone. But let's just end this off by saying like, comment, and subscribe to us here on YouTube, and don't forget to also check out all our social platforms down below and all of our guest social platforms, which are always down below as well. This has been your host, Matthew Crandall, and I hope to see you all on episode 11 of the Little Thespian Podcast, which will be dropping fairly soon for you guys. So you guys are definitely going to want to keep an eye out for that. Don't forget to shine bright, guys. This has been your host, Matthew Crandall, and I will see you all on the next Little Thespian Podcast.